on George H. White.
Go ahead on now. Congress George H. White last speech before Congress. He too, like the phoenix, shall rise again. All right. Now I give
Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to be here and to give a portion of George White's final farewell to Congress. I have not known him as long as 1960, but I did become aware of him in the 90s, and I've been studying him ever since. Just a few additional words about George White, but before I do, I'd like to just say it's a pleasure to be on the same podium with Ms. Bryan, who is a historian and one of my mentors. Also with Nelson McDaniel, our local historian, with his own TV show at one time. He led the city very graciously through our 300th anniversary, which we had an opportunity to build bridges and to mend some of the historical ills that have developed through the history of our city here. But Nelson has done a wonderful job. And then my former school teacher, Ms. Ethel State, whatever she asked me to do, I do. That's all I can do. But I've been studying George White for a long time. I've read a lot of his information in order to get a feel for the type of person that he was. George White was born 99 years before me. It was in 1852. I was born in 1951. This year is the 115th anniversary of his farewell speech to Congress, and I think it's just strange. And Ms. Bryan, you have to agree with me how history repeats itself. And 130, 40 years ago, the Democrats maneuvered, gerrymandered here in North Carolina, the legislative districts, and placed most of the blacks after the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, giving the right to vote. They came up with a brilliant idea to limit our impact, these newly recognized citizens, by placing us in majority black districts. What does that do? Well, it concentrates your vote in an area where maybe you can get 1, 2, 3 elected positions, but it also minimizes your position throughout the electoral, because now you have no say-so, no impact at all in the other districts. And that's what the Democrats did. Today, 150 years later, what do we have? Republicans doing the same thing. But I'm glad to say that our judicial system, our court system, has had the courage to stand up, and to stand up for justice, to stand for democracy, because anytime you have citizens who have no right to vote, you really don't have a democratic system. So in studying George White and this system, you know, it's wonderful how African Americans who have persevered and pushed the conscience button of this country has moved this country to a more perfect democracy. And I want to give and not only the African Americans, but the visionary whites who threw away the shackles of convention, discrimination, some of the things you've been taught, and kind of sought education, a free mind, and a vision, and have sought justice and freedom as we've been taught, you know, in the true sense of scholarship of the democratic procedure, the democratic philosophy. And you know, has permeated here in New Bern. One of the things here in New Bern that is happening, I've got a few minutes, so I'll just give a little bit more background. I love to talk too. I just don't have a degree in it. But, you know, as we look at the history of New Bern, we have a unique city here. And I tell my friends wherever I go, we're special people. You know, you're a New Bernian, aren't you? Yeah, you're a little special. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, wherever I go, I find New Bernians, and we coalesce like that. We come together, you know, because we know we are special. We come from special people, and that we're going to do special things in this world. We have sallied forth from this very place and have had impacts across this nation on the lives of not just black people, white people, on the lives of this country, period. And that's what George White did. When he came here to New Bern, he didn't choose to come to New Bern, it was just a city. He came to the most cosmopolitan, thought-provoking city in the state. New Bern, the second largest city, had, prior to slavery, the largest population of free blacks in this state, had educated blacks. And we talk about, yeah, there were some blacks who owned slaves. Many of those blacks who owned slaves bought those slaves because they were trying to protect them, and eventually they freed them. George C. Stanley, house across the street, and up here on the corner, owned 161 slaves, black man. But he ended up setting just about all of them free. Bought his own wife, her kids, set them free. So, you know, it is an enigma, black man owning a slave, but there's also security in it. There's also a future in it, because you are protecting what you have. And I just want to bring it up. So when George White came here to New Bern, he saw the black deputy sheriffs, magistrates, etc. He didn't come here just because New Bern, it had a nice ring to it. He came here because there was opportunity in New Bern. And that's what I tell my friends, my young friends that I mentor. This is America, the greatest country in the world. Everybody's trying to get here. And there's opportunity on around every corner, everywhere you look. So George White came here. He had a tough time, but he had a mentor in Judge Clark. Judge Clark helped him. White guy, Judge Clark was crazy. Well, not crazy. What's a better word for it? Eccentric? Yes. I told you, I'm working on it. Judge Clark, you know, before the war, he was a segregationist. After the war, switched over to the Republican Party. As his grandson, great-grandson, mentioned, the family practically disowned him. But regardless, he paved his own way. And that's one of the things that has made New Bern successful, because we're individuals. We think for ourselves, isn't it right? We think for ourselves. He saw the bright future in this young man. George White wanted to be a lawyer. He couldn't afford it. Howard's Law School had collapsed during his time there. And besides, as he getting older, he wanted to make some money. So he came here to New Bern, where opportunity is. But when he got into politics, yeah, the black second. Anybody heard that term before? The black second. That district that you just mentioned, and Halifax, Craven, all the other black counties who had a majority black, they created, the Democrats created this district, which had an opportunity because African Americans are in a majority, about 62% to a large degree. But they could not have elected those blacks without white support. And part of that plan was, even though you have a black majority, white's going to be elected still. And it did become the case. That was the case, you know. That's politics. You got to come together, and sometimes it's in a back room, and you decide how the pie is going to be split. Is that not right, Nelson? And so, the best way to split the pie, the way the pie is split so that there no loss of life or property, or that there's a transition that can occur peacefully, those are some of the things that work out. And for better or for worse, that's what happened. That's why George White was able to progress like he did. And one of the major reasons he was able to progress, George White was brilliant. You know, to come out of those backwoods, going to school 2-3 months a year, ended up at Howard, when he went there 3 years, came out, and at Howard, what he got out of Howard was practically a high school education. That's all. Came here, became the normal school principal of my school eventually, West Street School, yes, and the Presbyterian School. Helped found Ebenezer. Not only that, but for UAME Zionists here, he served while he was in the legislature to submit a bill for the incorporation of Livingston College in Salisbury. So a lot of people, as a black leader, came to him to get legislation passed. Reminds me of my good friend, the late W.L. Wainwright. I was his strategist during the 1990 campaign when he was elected, the first time we've had a representative from this area since George White's period. In 1990, I was a strategist. And since Wainwright was elected, black and white sought him, and we just dedicated a room there, Tryon Patterson History Center, to his memory. And the reason it was dedicated was because he, the single most individual to make the History Center possible. $56, $60 million building. That's what our representative did, and that's what, when you have conscientious people working on behalf of the people, those are the kinds of things that can happen for us. Now let me get down to his speech. George White served 4 years in the Congress. His brother-in-law, Cheatham, served 4 years prior to him. They were the last 2 black congressmen in Congress. George White served the whole 4 years as the single congressman, the single representative in this democracy for 4 years and he served to speak for about 6.5, 7 million black people. That one person. And I don't know about you, but I've been in a situation where I've been the only one. And it's a tough road to hoe. You know, it's a tough road to travel. In fact, George White in Congress, how many congressmen did we have at that time? Probably about 350, 1 out of 350. Boy, those are some odds. George White decided he would not run again in 1901. He ran twice. He won in the Fusionists, and won because the Fusionist ticket split the party. And at that time, North Carolina had passed its amendment, basically disenfranchising the black vote, taking the black vote away, taking the vote away from African Americans. If you can't vote, you have no citizenship. You're not a citizen. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, actually those 3 amendments gave black people the right to vote and establish their citizenship. When Reconstruction ended in 1877, due to the election, the presidential election, there was an agreement with the Southern Dixiecrats that if the president, one of the candidates wanted their vote, then they had to remove the troops from the South and eliminate, bring Reconstruction to an end. That was the agreement. And then what would happen once those troops left and the land and the power was returned again to the slave owners, basically, the power structure. Of course, that's what they wanted because this go back to status quo. You know, you've heard that term before. Have anybody heard the term, let's make America great again? Well, please excuse me. I want to bring current politics into this thing, but it cannot be denied. And I'm up here because of George White. George White spoke truth, and I'm going to speak truth. Okay? I'm going to go to his speech. It was in January 1901. This is his last speech to the Congress. Audience out there, balcony, in Congress. He got up to speak. And the subject that day actually was an agriculture issue. George White was on the agriculture committee. But when he got up to speak, like politicians, like congressmen do today, they have a certain amount of time to speak. But they said, I'm going to use my time to speak on something more important, because there are you here today who are more versed, more well-versed, and more eloquent to speak on agriculture issues. But I'm going to speak on something dear to my heart.